Reverend Anthony Thompson's wife, Myra Thompson, was one of the people who died in the shooting at Mother Emanuel AME Church on June 17, 2015. Today, Reverend Thompson is calling people to forgive, and he talks about the night of the tragedy for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Reverend Anthony Thompson, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, thank you so very much, Brother Quintin. I'm glad to be here. It's a blessing to be on this show with you.
Oh, likewise.
I'm glad I finally caught up with you. You're a busy man.
Yes. And the last time we spoke was last year, and we ran into each other at the Four Corners of Law, and, I basically actually do an interview with you, so here we are.
Here we are. All right.
Yeah. And
God is good.
Yeah, absolutely. He is. And, there's so much going on right now with you, with obviously you pastoring your church and doing other things.
Yes.
What particular Bible verse are you looking at right now, which describes you?
Describes me? Oh, man. Well, we're talking about St. Matthew, the 25th chapter, brother, 4th verse. And as much as you have done unto the least of these, my brother, you have done it unto me. That's me right now. That is me right now. Because we have so many, like you said, the pandemic is here. Then we just had this other, oh my God, severe crush upon the White House from people who call themselves Americans, and a lot of giving is needed in this world today. A lot in terms of, when I say giving, I mean each one of us need to give instead of trying to get. And seemingly now everybody's just trying to get. Everybody want to have their own way and want their own heart's desires. And so I find it very important to focus on those who really need. And where our politicians, they should focus on those who really need. When they're really focusing on themselves, I know everybody have the intentions when they get in politics initially to save the world, and then they get involved with other politicians who've been there for years and have to make deals, and before you know it, they're serving themselves. And so, and this nation is just going in the wrong direction of serving themselves instead of trying to serve the people who really need to be served. Me, for one, being a servant of the Lord, that's what I was supposed to do, serve the people. Politicians are supposed to be service. They're supposed to serve the people. And, we all have our responsibilities in using the gifts that God has given us to serve each other. And so that's where I am right now, and I believe that's what we should be. And when we serve each other, we, and find the need for other people, then a lot of other things come along with that. You begin to, you begin to show that love begin to be imparted to others, and it is a trickle down effect. But it has to be done on an individual basis, for it to actually work. When Jesus spoke to the crowd, he didn't have the internet, he didn't have Instagram and all these other, social media technology. It was by word of mouth, and it got passed by word of mouth, and that's what we need to do. I mean, not that we need to get rid of technology, but what I'm saying is, as individuals, we need to pass on this love that Christ exemplified, the need to help others, on an individual basis.
If you were to stand in front of your parishioners right now and virtually, what would that sermon title be?
That sermon title would be, you are not here to serve yourself. You are here to serve each other. Simple as that. Well, better yet, it would be, this is not Burger King. You can't have it your way. You've got to do it the Lord's way. How about that? Because my congregation, they know, it's something that we focus on all the time. I have a very faithful and loyal and loving congregation. And we focus on helping the community in any way we can. And sometimes being a small church, we can't, help the community as much as we want to. And so I've informed them to start in your family. There are family members of yours who may need in certain ways. They may need spiritual help, they may need financial help, they may need, they just may need you to be there for them. And so, and one thing about focusing on the family first is, if you can't do it for your family, how can you do it for anybody else? And so, right now, as a matter of fact, this Sunday I told them that, we have to remember that we are Christians. in spite of what happened at the White House, in spite of all the corruption that's going on there, and in spite of the physical harm that our so-called fellow Americans did to each other, we still need to focus on the fact that we are Christians, and in spite of what happened to them, we've got to forgive these people. We have to forgive these people, and we have to exemplify the love of Christ no matter what harms comes your way. That's the Christian way. We can't fall into this trap of the world. The world's way of doing things. Somebody gets you, I'm going to get you back. James talks about that in terms of causing wars and strives. It's because of our own selfish desires, and because everybody want to do things their way, or they want to have what you have. And if they can't get their way, then they find a way to manipulate you or exploit you. And if they can't get what you want, they can't get what you have, then they try to find a way to bring you down. And then you've got and this goes on in families, this goes on in communities, churches, particularly right now in our nation. A nation of people right now who literally, really, this whole thing that happened in D.C. was about hating black people. Okay, I don't care what anybody says, because they stormed the White House. Okay, first of all, because they were incited by President Trump to do it, and I personally have said a long time ago, he's a racist. He may be a president, but he's a racist. And these white supremacist groups, these neo-Nazis groups, and everybody who hate people, especially black people, okay, seem to be his followers. And so they didn't storm the White House so much because of him inciting the right. They stormed it because they want. You've seen signs that "Give me back my country." Well, the black people never really took your country. Y'all took us from Africa and brought us to your country. So how could you want us to give your country back to you? You've always had your country. You've always been the privilege. We've always had to scuffle and work. We were slaves. Our ancestors were slaves. So what is there for us to give you? You've always had it. So it doesn't have anything about giving them back. We never took anything from it. It's just the fact that they hate us. They hate us, and this is where this world is right now. There's so much hate going on, man. So much hate being incited by the White House, and it only takes one person. That it takes a leader, most powerful leader in the world, to say, let's go in this direction, and you're going to have people to follow him to go in that direction. And right now, his direction is, let's hate. Let's get angry. Let's rebel. Let's get physical. Let's bring some harm. And it's because he wants to have his way. His full. Everything is about him. It's about him. And one thing. I forgive this man because this man is mentally ill. Okay, he is the worst case of narcissism that I've ever seen in my life. And so we have to continue to pray for him, that God will mentally heal him in some way, somehow. Because in spite of what he's doing, I don't know if he ever gave his life to the Lord or not, but in spite of what he's doing, whether he's a Christian or not, I am a Christian. I am a pastor. You understand? And Jesus Christ going on that cross and dying on the cross to save me from my sins, to forgive me, well, I'm no better than Jesus. And I didn't hang on no cross, but he forgave me so I can forgive this man.
As a matter of fact, I want to talk to you about your book, Called to Forgive, the Charleston church shooting, a victim's husband, and the path to healing and peace. What path are you on right now, Reverend Thompson?
Well, the path I'm on right now is healing and peace every day. Every day I wake up, I'm in awe about what God is doing in my life. Because at that bond hearing, of which I did not want to attend, but God, he knew I had to be there. I forgave Dylan. Who the one who murdered my wife and 8 other people at Emanuel AME Church. But God intervened to make that happen. God came to me to make that happen because I had given up on everything. I found everything to be useless. I found out I have no purpose in life. I didn't know what to do. And he just kept coming at me, man, like a pest. And anyway, to make a long story short, I got to that bond hearing and I forgave him. And that's where I received my peace. I received my peace at that bond hearing immediately after I forgave Dylan. I mean, God just took everything away from me, everything, the sadness, the anger, the hate, and I was at peace, and I have that peace right now today. And when he gave me that peace, he also told me, God is a funny person when it comes to me. He also told me, he said, now, you said you didn't have anything to do. You don't have no more purpose. Now I'm going to give you a purpose. Your new mission is to spread the gospel of forgiveness. And so that's where I am, spreading the gospel of forgiveness, because that peace I experienced, God knew other people need that peace. He knew I needed that peace. And so now I'm the instrument for that. And that's what I'm doing now. I've been all over the United States spreading that peace. I've seen a lot of people's lives change. I mean, change right there on the spot. I've seen people who I saw a father who hadn't seen his daughter since she was a baby, and now she's 12 years old, and he just knew that his daughter hated him. So he asked me, what could he do to get her forgiveness? And anyway, we went through the numbers. Anyway, his life is completely different now. You know, he has a totally different life with his daughter now. His daughter accepted his forgiveness and told him we need to move on. You know, things like that I have seen happen, you know, spreading this gospel of forgiveness. You know, I've seen communities change. I went to Alabama. I've been to Montgomery. I've been to Birmingham. I went to Montgomery. You know, Montgomery is a place where they bred slaves. You know, they went beyond buying them and having them, you know, they bred the slaves so they wouldn't have to buy them. This, you know, and so they were really, and so anyway, when I went there, the attorney general of Montgomery, okay, came and actually met with me, and we talked because he wants to change Montgomery, Alabama. So and it all started with just an act of forgiveness that happened there, and so and so they're working on changing Alabama. They're working on unity. They're working on eradicating racism, which probably will never be completely eradicated, but it can get close to it. And so things like that are happening in other places, you know. And the forgiveness is the key to everything, okay? To everything. I found out it's the key to healing physically and spiritually. It's the key to unity, because without that, you can't, nothing else can happen. We were not able to get back to God without Jesus Christ dying on that cross so we can be forgiven of our sins. And that was our way back. That was our way back to peace with the Lord.
Yes.
Our way back to peace with the world. Our way back with being unified. And so if Jesus had to do that for that to happen in our lives, we have to continue to do that for that to happen in this nation. And so I found out that forgiveness is the key, my brother. And I've seen a lot of people's lives change. My life has changed. I have that peace. I still have that peace. My children have that peace. And I wake up every day because the people that God placed in front of me to accomplish this mission. Right now, we're working on an event called One New Humanity Charleston, which I can't give you a date yet because we're still dealing with the mayor's office in reference to this being approved. But however, we're looking for it to be in November, where we're concentrating on repentance, forgiveness, reconciliation, and unity in the city of Charleston. This is going to be an annual event for that purpose. Now, we're not just coming to have a good time, you know, and talk and you hear a word. We're going to do a prayer march, and that prayer march is going to go to 7 landmarks in Charleston that we consider to be sinful acts that took place at these landmarks, like this old slave market, like downtown White Point's Garden, and so we're going to pray at each one of these landmarks, marching to end up at Marion Square, where we're going to have a solemn assembly, a prayer. Man, we're going to have the biggest choir you ever seen, singing, and we're going to have maybe a couple of speakers, focusing on repentance, reconciliation, forgiveness, and unity. And the month prior to that event, we're going to have we're asking each church for 4 Sundays to preach their message be on repentance, forgiveness, reconciliation, and unity, so that by the time we come together as a whole, we all be on the same page. But that's just the initial part of this event. Not only is this an event, but it's also an organization. We're forming board members. We're filling positions. We want this to continually be a part of Charleston, South Carolina. We're working on our 501c3. Matter of fact, maybe in a few days we'll have that. Because we find the need for this city to be united, being that this was one of the ports for 200 more years where where slavery existed, where black men, were whipped, beaten and exploited so that the white man can profit off them. And this old Charleston money that they talk about, well, it came from the backs of slaves, and so there's a lot of bitterness, because we have a lot of bitterness. Some of us as black people have a lot of bitterness about what happened to us still now today, because some of us are still being treated the same way, maybe not being beaten physically, but being beaten financially. You know what I mean? Just being beaten down, just mentally. And so and so there's a need now for unity.
Yes.
Need now for unity. And so that's what we're going to be concentrating on. That's what that One New Humanity Charleston is all about. And it has a lot to do with the same mission that God put me on, to spread the gospel of forgiveness.
I've known you for a short period of time, and yesterday I was at work at the restaurant, and I had some extra time on my hand, and I went back and watched some of your sermons from the New Canon Society and other events that you had.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that about the bond hearing until you told me. You talked about it, and you said you didn't have that person on your mind. But let me ask you this, Reverend Thompson: what was on your mind at that time?
At that time, Myra, my wife Myra, she was all I can think. Man, people call their wives the love of their life, but she was the love of my life. I thought I knew about love before I met her, because I thought I was the most loving person in the world. But when I met her, I found that I wasn't even close compared to the love that she showed to me, and she showed to our children. She showed to community, especially to her church. And that's who was on my mind. All I can think about is, how did this happen? And she just began her ministry. God had, I'm trying to figure out, why did you make her a minister and then take her away? And I was just pitying myself. And Dylan was not on my mind. I didn't care. I didn't care who did it. Didn't want to know who did it. I was just mourning the death of my wife. I mean, I was just miserable that night. That night when I went to Emanuel Church, because I received a phone call saying that something happened, I ran down there, and at first I thought maybe they had taken everybody from the church, excuse me, to the hotel, because that's what one of the officers told me. So I had hopes that my wife was still living. But once I found that she wasn't, she wasn't at the hotel, I ran across to Emanuel Church trying to get in there. And of course, I was snatched back by an FBI agent. Anyway, make a long story short, when I found out she was dead, man, I just lost it. I fell on the ground on Calhoun Street crying uncontrollably, worse than a baby. And that's when God came and intervened. And he said, "Get up." He said this to me 3 times. First 2 times, I didn't know who was saying that. I was about ready to get up and want to fight somebody. yeah, because they were saying it to me so harshly, like, "Get up," no pity. And so when I realized it was the Lord, I wanted to know, why was he being so harsh? And he just let me know, because I already said I'm not going to preach anymore. I'm not going to do any mission work like Myra and I was doing. I'm not mentoring children anymore. I just threw the towel in, and he just kept coming at me. He gave me a Bible scripture from St. Luke, the 14th chapter, which tells you that, things are like, people are going to, do things in your life to cause you to stumble. And then it goes on from there, and I'm trying to figure out, this cannot be for me, because I already know I'm stumbling on my faith. So tell me something new. Tell me something I don't know. And it went on to say, at the end of this, say, forgive. Somebody, committed an offense against you 7 times, and 7 times you got to forgive them. And I'm like, seriously? At that time, I didn't know who to forgive, because Dylan, they hadn't caught him yet. Nobody knew who committed the crime. So I'm trying to find from the Lord, well, who am I to forgive? But I'm just letting you know, this is how he came at me. And he just kept coming. And the more I kept saying, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I mean, I literally put my hands in my ears, because I didn't want to hear what he had to say. And of course, it didn't do any good, But I mean, I literally was trying to get him, just leave me alone. But he just kept coming, and he kept coming. And that's what got me to that bond hearing. I didn't want to go. When I found out, my daughter Denise came to me and said, Father, there's a bond hearing today. They caught the young man. His name is Dylan Roof. So I'm looking at her like, so what? She said, well, we have to go to the bond hearing. I said, I'm not going. And she said, well, Father, we have to go. I said, I'm not going. And I mean, I literally meant that. I put my pajamas on. I went to my bedroom. I covered myself up and closed my door. Didn't want to be bothered. But my daughter came in there, opened the door, covered off my head and said, Father, well, if you don't go, I'm not going. And that's the thing that broke my heart. So I got up, and that's what got me there.
Wow.
You know, that's what got me there. But God has something for me all the time. That peace that I would never have received if I didn't go to that bond hearing. So what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to tell everybody is that God will never forsake you.
That's right.
I don't care. You can tell him, I don't want you around me. Get away. Leave me alone, because I did all that. And he just kept on coming.
Wow.
Because he knows. He knows what we need.
Yes.
You know, and that's why even if we forsake him, he'll never forsake us.
That's right.
Yeah.
And in that video, you said you told your children that once they got to the bond hearing to say nothing to anyone, but God had other plans. You said, what were those plans?
Those plans were to give me peace, were to change my life, and to put me on a mission that he wanted me, to go on. I mean, because I had no idea. Like I told you, I'd given up everything. I was not going to Holy Trinity Reformed Episcopal Church Sunday to preach anybody's sermon. I was not going. I already told him I was not going. I was no longer be a minister. I threw in the towel. I mean, seriously, I threw in the towel about everything. And my pet peeve is concern for young people. And I've been doing that for 40 or more years. And I said I wasn't going to do that anymore. And he just kept coming at me. He just kept coming at me because he knew what I needed and I didn't know what I needed. So when I got to that bond hearing, that's when everything, because I told him no speak. But when I got to that bond hearing, he came to me like he came to me on the street that night when he said, get up. When I was on the street that night crying, finding out my wife had died, same thing at the bond hearing. I told my daughter and son, I said, I'm ready to go. After Nadine forgave the young man, I was ready to go. And my daughter looked at me and said, Father, and then the magistrate said, is there anybody here to speak for Myra Thompson family? And I went, oh my God, you gotta be kidding. And I was like, shh, be quiet. And the Lord said, again, get up. I have something to say. And that's what got me up. And I was on my way to the podium. And I wasn't hearing anything from the Lord. And I was like, God, you better come on, because I don't have anything to say. You said you got something to say. Tell me what it is. And you know what he said? He convicted me. He told me, he said, you're a sinner just like Dylan. And I'm like, seriously? No. I know I didn't hear it right. He said, yeah, he said, you're a sinner just like Dylan. Dylan might have killed your wife, but you're a sinner too. This is what he told me on the way to the podium. He said, so I died on the cross for you, and I died on the cross of Dylan. And I'm saying to myself, you want me to come up here and tell people I'm a sinner? I'm not telling anybody I'm a sinner. I'm not going up there to tell nobody that, But he convicted my heart, and I started thinking. I started searching myself, and I examined myself. And I thought about not only that, but I thought about my parents and what they went through and how I learned forgiveness through them many years ago. And I'm saying to myself, God, you're right. And once I said that, that's where the words came out of my mouth. Son, I forgive you. My family forgive you. We would like you to take this opportunity to repent. Confess, repent, give your life to the one that means the most, because he will change your ways. He'll change your life. You're in a lot of trouble right now, but no matter what happens to you, if you do that, you're going to be all right. And man, that's when that peace came over me, like nothing. And that's when I said, I realized where God was leading me. Because the direction I chose, man, I don't know where I would have been right now.
Wow.
Yeah. And he led me to that act of forgiveness so that I can receive that peace that I didn't even know I can receive just from that act. And a lot of people carrying burdens, a lot of people carrying baggage, man,
Yes.
from years, because they don't know how to get that peace. They're trying to get that peace by taking revenge. And what they find out is that you take revenge on somebody, well, the bad that you do to somebody else comes to you. You reap what you sow. It makes your life more miserable. The anger you take out of somebody else, the revenge you take out of somebody else, makes your life miserable. And I'm sure a lot of people found that out. So they're searching for that peace, and there's only one way you can get it. You have to forgive. That's the only way you're going to get that peace, and God is there to grant it to you.
And while you were at that particular bond hearing, Reverend Thompson, how did God get control of your thoughts?
He just came to me. I mean, when I've got this relationship with the Lord I've had since I was 7 years old. Because when I was 7 years old, my mom and them, we were living in Virginia. We used to bring us down to visit my grandmother here in Charleston. And I was on the corner of Romney and King Street where the old Piggly Wiggly used to be at. Where they have this, I think it's a synagogue now. No, a mosque.
Right.
A mosque. And that used to be Piggly Wiggly. And I was on that corner, 7 years old, and somebody called my name 3 times. And, the story is long, but I'll make it short. The third time, he said to me, I thought it was my friends playing a joke on me or something. I'm looking all around. And the third time, he said, this will be God, and you're going to be a preacher. And my response was, no, not me. I'm not going to be a preacher. And I ran over and told my grandmother. My grandmother, she's jumping up and down. She's happy. Oh, we're going to have a preacher. And I said, no, Grandma, I'm not going to be a preacher. And so I know his voice. And he taunted me the same way he did that night. He taunted me, man, I'm telling you, for years and years, all I could hear is my voice. You're going to be a preacher. And this went on until I was 35 years old.
My age now.
Yes, every day. So you're 35 years old, you young man.
Yes.
Every day, because you imagine from 7. And so I went to the seminary when I was 35. And that's when I didn't hear his whisper anymore. And I wrote a poem about it called Whisper My Ear, because, he taunted me every day about me being a preacher. And at 35 years of age, I went to seminary to pursue the ministry, which I became a minister. And I never heard that voice again about you're going to be a preacher. So I knew that voice at that bond hearing. I knew that voice that night when I was on the ground crying. I knew it was him. Anybody, if you have a relationship with the Lord, you hear him. Okay, he talks to you and you hear him. You hear him through his word. You hear him through the little whisper or however way he communicate with you. You will hear him. Okay, and so I thank God I have a relationship with him so I can hear him. And that's what got my attention, his voice, coming to me, so clearly, as if I was 7 years old again, saying, get up, I have something to say, and I've heard that voice, and I knew one thing about God, because this happened in my life when I came down to Holy Trinity Church in 2010. Same thing. I didn't want to come. Because I did not want to come. I was at a church in Somerville, and I've been there for 17 years, established a church, rebuilt the church, renovated the church, bought property, did all these things, which I thought I did, And then they said, we're going to send you down to Holy Trinity, and it was a building to be condemned. Only had 4 members, and I'm like, I'm not going down there. Make a long story short, my same wife, Myra, she said, I don't even know who you are anymore. Because it took 2 years for this to happen. My bishop took 2 bishops, and my wife. She said, I don't understand. She said, God called you to go down there. You need to get off your high horse and get your butt down there. And of course, needless to say, that's what I did. And when I went down there, that dilapidated church was about to fall apart. One of my classmates came, Tom McQueenie, and he had been trying to reach me for months, and I was ignoring him. Okay, and my wife said, just give him a call. And I gave him a call, and he said, I want to meet you at your church. To make a long story short, he renovated the church from top to bottom. That was in October 2010. I got there in 2010, September. By January 2011, the whole church was completely renovated, like brand new, because of this man who God had that ram in the bush for me long time ago, me being stubborn saying, I'm not going down there because I don't have time to do all this work. And God showed me that he didn't need me. And he reminded me that you think you did that work up at St. Stephen? You didn't do that either. And I felt this small, man. And that's when I realized that, you know what? Without God, I'm nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I learned one thing, that all we have to do is obey. Just obey. That's all God requires of us. Just obey. And all these other things that we think we're going to do, he do those things, not us.
Yeah.
He do those things, and he made that happen. And the congregation began to build.
Yes.
And as time went on, everybody in the community started coming to the church and wanted to know what could they do to help, and it's been that way ever since. And so I learned that back then, and those experiences brought me to that bond hearing, and all that came to my mind, about what God has done in my life, and all I needed to do was be obedient. And that's what brought me to that. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I'm sitting just blocks away from your church as I sit here and talk to you right now.
Yeah. Man, if you had seen it before I went there, you would have thought the church was closed, because a lot of people in the community thought it was closed, because that's just how bad shape it was in.
Right.
But again, God, without him you can do nothing, but with him all things are possible.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to that New Canon Society speech, because I believe in the speech you told about how Felicia Sanders told you that twice that your wife was gone. You said she'll be back, and you said Felicia told you twice she's gone, and you told her like, "Hey, you already heard that."
Yeah. Well, I just don't want to accept. Going down there, what I want you to realize is that day, before she went to teach that Bible study, we were at home. We were still in our pajamas, and she was walking around the house. She had this glow about her, this aura around her, man. And I'm looking at her like, am I really seeing this? And she's walking around the house as if though she's not walking, but she's gliding. And I'm like, is this really happening? And I'm looking at her so hard. So she looks at me. She said, "What are you looking at?" And I didn't want to tell her, because I didn't want to spoil the moment. I mean, she was so happy. I've never seen my wife that happy. Not just her. I've never seen nobody as happy as she was that morning. And I know I didn't make her that happy. You understand? No, it wasn't me. And so I'm trying to figure this out. And so I just told her, I said, well, can I look at my beautiful wife? And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to ask her when she come back from Bible study, why was she so happy? Because I do want to spoil the moment. And so, and normally, and so I'm walking away, and she was walking away at the same time, and we're looking at each other, and she's looking at me as if to say, well, what you going to do? And I'm like, yeah, okay, I mean, like, let's touch and play before I go. But I couldn't touch her. I mean, we're standing side by side. I'm looking at her. It's not like I can feel somebody holding me back. I just couldn't move. And she's looking at me like, and then after a while she's going like, "Oh, forget it," and she leaves. And before I know it, she's dressed. She's walking out of the door. I'm in the bathroom, and when we leave the house, no matter who it is, if I leave the house, if she leaves the house, we meet each other at the door. And we tell each other we love you. We kiss each other. There you go on your way.
Yeah.
That didn't happen that day. For some reason, I couldn't get to the door. She kept saying, "Come on, honey." She called me honey. She said, "Honey, I'm getting ready to go. You got to come on now, because I'm getting ready to leave." I couldn't get out of that bathroom, man. She said, "Well, okay, meet me at the car. I'll be at the car. Meet me at the car." Yeah. I couldn't get out there. I mean, I couldn't touch her at the door. I couldn't. And before I know it, she's gone. I never got to tell her that. Never got to hug her. And so that night when it happened, I went down there, and Felicia telling me she's gone. I didn't want to hear that. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I know my wife. She just, that's the way she is. She comes somewhere, and, she'll walk away. I said, but I'll just wait till she come back. She said, no, she's gone. And I couldn't believe it. And another reason why I couldn't believe it, because the police officer who I ran into coming down Calhoun Street told me that everybody was sent over to the hotel. So again, I'm thinking she can't be telling me she's dead. And when she said, no, she's gone, she's not coming back, that's when I realized. And that's when I ran out of the hotel, and I got on the flower bed of that hotel, And I'm down there praying, Lord, please, no, don't take my wife, you know. And if something happened to her, please don't let her suffer, you know. And then something said, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get to the church, because by that time everybody's there, FBI, you know, SLED, all the first response, everybody tapes around. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get there. And some said just get up and run, and that's when I got up and I just ran, because I wanted to get in there. I wanted to be with her. I don't care what was going on. I know she needed me. You know, I know she needed me. You know, and that's why I just couldn't believe it. You know, I just couldn't believe it. And I got past everybody. I don't know how even I got past. I don't even know how it happened. And I got to the gate
Right.
of the church, where the door where they were coming back and forth, that side door,
Right.
Emmanuel. And I got to that gate, and as soon as I touched that gate, pull that gate back, that's when somebody snatched me. Yeah, and they physically, we were fighting.
Oh
It
Lord.
took 5 people to hold me down.
Wow.
4 other people had to come and literally hold me down because I was determined to get in there. And after asking a lot of questions, you know, see, you know, what I have to understand, I was a probation agent for 37 years, 27 years. And I've been in situations like, I've seen situations like that. And so I knew what kind of questions to ask. And the kind of questions I was asking them, the kind of answers I was getting with no answers, I realized she was dead, you know. And that's when I just lost it. That I told you about, and fell down on that ground crying. And that's when God came in. But you know, that's why I couldn't believe it, you know, because of what happened that morning, you know, what happened that day. And I'm like, Jesus, you know, we didn't kiss. I didn't say goodbye. I said, I love you, you know. And she started a ministry. Why is she gone? All these things going through my mind, you know. Then I'm thinking, if I had only been there, why couldn't I have been there? And see, and I wanted to be there, but you know what? She told me she didn't want me to come. And yet, the shockness I saw in your face, I was shocked too, because that never happened. We always went, wherever we went together. So when she said she wanted me to come, I was like, what? I mean, it was unbelievable. And we went back and forth. I'm coming. No, you're not coming. I'm coming. No, you're not coming. I'm coming. You're not. And I was like, and you know, she knew what button to push to just kind of cool me down. She said, well, I tell you what. She said, you need to go to your church first, because they're having vacation Bible school for the first day. And those ladies, they're going to have a lot of drama going on. So you go there first. Oh, she knew how to punch my butt. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I need to go there first. And so that's why I didn't go with her. I went to my church, but I had all intentions of going to her Bible study, you know, even after going to the church. But she was right. There was drama. I don't know how she figured that out. There was drama at my church, and I couldn't get away. And the more I tried to get away to go to that Bible study, to her Bible, I couldn't get away. You know, and I couldn't figure it out. So after my Bible study, I went home thinking she was home, and she wasn't. And you know, that's when I got a phone call from one of the members, and I still don't know who that member is, saying, Reverend Thompson, there's shooting at the church. You need to go to the church. And that's how I found out. You know, and I dropped that phone, and I got my car. Didn't lock the door, the house, anything, and I drove down there. And that's when I ran into the first police officer, who told me that, you know, I couldn't come through Calhoun and Elizabeth Street because it was blocked off. He said, you can't go that way. He said, because, you know, the shootings have been going around the church, but we took everybody at the church and we took them to the hotel. So that's another reason why I couldn't believe that she had been killed. Yeah.
I know you were once a law enforcement official. Did the police officer that night tell you everything that you needed to know?
No, they didn't tell me anything. You know, that when I got almost to the church and got snatched back,
right,
you know, I asked some questions like, well, you know, I identified myself. I told them who I was. I told my wife Myra was in the church and I needed to get in the church. You know, I said, so y'all need to let me go. And they said, well, no, you can't go in there now. I said, well, why can't I go in there now? They said, well, because they're still doing some investigations. I'm like, investigating what? I mean, it was a shooting. You mean they can't investigate unless you get the people out of there? You know, that's what I'm thinking. And the only other reason you're going to investigate without the people being out there, they must be dead. You know, and so I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, are people who were shot still in there? He said, oh yeah, they're still in there. I said, well, if they're still in there, why can't they come out? And he said, well, I can't tell you that. And that's what I knew. I said, well, you don't seem to be able to tell me anything. You know? I said, so why didn't you just tell me that my wife is dead? Why you just can't tell me that? You know? Well, we can't tell you that either. And I'm like, seriously? You know, yeah. Those are the kind of questions I asked them. Never got an answer. Never got a straight answer. You know? And I'm letting them know, man, you know, I've been in law enforcement, you know, come on. Right. You know? Just tell me.
Right.
I didn't find out until, Jesus, like 2 o'clock that morning. And it took the coroner from the coroner's office to have a meeting over at the, I forgot the name of the hotel.
Courtyard Marriott. I mean, no, Embassy Suites.
Embassy Suites, yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I found out at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know. And then I had to drag it out of her, the coroner's, you know. And man, I mean, I was an empty person. I was just empty. You know, she was the only thing on my mind. I didn't have anything on my mind but her. And I just didn't know. I didn't know where I was going with that. I'm telling you, I didn't know where my life was going. And one put like this, I didn't know where it was going, but I knew it was going to be good. I knew it wasn't going to be good because I'd given up. I told God, forget it. I'm done. Yeah. You know, and I meant every word of it. You know, and he knew I did. And I was done, man. You know, I was done. I told him, I said, I don't think, you know, I can't do this anymore. I can't preach, can't pastor, nothing, not doing anything. I'm stopping everything. I mean, literally stopping everything. You know, and I kept saying over and over again. And I know people were looking at me like, I kept saying over and over again. I said, I don't know what to do. I mean, I must have said 1,000 times that night. I mean, literally, like, loud. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know, because I didn't. I really didn't know what to do. You know, in my mind, I didn't have any more purpose in life. My purpose in life was gone because everything I did literally was for her. You know, and which I know should have been for the Lord. You understand? Came to realize that later, but at that time, no, I wasn't thinking about God. I'm not be serious with it. I wasn't thinking about him. I was thinking about her. I was thinking about her not being here. I was thinking about, you know, what I'm going to do. That's all. And that was going to be nothing, absolutely nothing. And because, I don't know, man, just, you know, she came into my life. And I always used to tell her, you better leave before me, because if you leave, I'm going to leave before you, because if you leave before me, girl, I'm going crazy. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. You know, and we talk about death all the time. And she used to always say, well, if I die before you, what you going to do? Are you going to get married again? I said, no. And she get mad. She get upset. And one time I used to tell her, I said, well, don't get upset, because that doesn't have anything to do with our marriage, because I will get married again. And she used to say, no, you're going to get married again. Seriously. I'm like, no, I'm not. And so I asked her, I said, well, what you going to do if I die before you? She said, I'm going to pray to the Lord that he cut off my sexual desires. And I was like, seriously? I said, girl, that ain't gonna happen. She said, yes, I am. And I said, nah, that ain't gonna happen. I said, girl, them sexual desires gonna jump up. But I believed her, because she used to always tell me, it was a lady named Miss Smith. She was a school teacher. She was a Delta, just like my wife. And she was like a mentor to my wife. And she had lost her husband, oh man, like 30-something years ago. And she told Myra that's what she did, because Myra used to ask her why she wasn't dating. And the lady actually did that. And so Myra was saying she was going to copycat her. And I was like, no. Nah. So we talked about death all the time. So that's what I'm saying. When that happened, man, I just literally thought it was over for me. I didn't think about killing myself or anything, but it just, I really didn't know what I was going to be doing. I know I was going to be doing what I was doing then. And I never even imagined me doing what I'm doing now. You know, but the good thing about what I'm doing now is that it's helping other people's lives. It goes back to what I said, you know, and as much as ye have done unto the least of these my brethren, and it goes back to that all the time. That, you know, that was always one of my favorite scriptures. And then Myra's was Proverbs 3rd chapter 56th verse. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. Yes. Knowledge with all thy ways. That was hers. You know, so So between hers and mine, man, we ain't have a chance.
Yes.
But to trust in him, and
Right.
but to do for others.
That's right.
You know, yeah. And so so that's what we did too. That's what we did together.
Together.
We did it with our kids. We did it in the community. But she was a pillar in the community. She was a pillar in this community. Everywhere she went, I mean, she was not a stranger to nobody. Everywhere she went, man, it was like people bowed down to her. You know, because she let them know where she was coming from. I remember after she died, she had a rental because her car was being fixed at Nissan. And so when I went to take the rental back, maybe a couple of weeks after that, the people at the rental place were saying, we're respecting the fact that she died, but they said, you know what? Said when we met her, it was like we knew her all our lives. I mean, this came out of them, and they just met her one time, and said she reminded me. And one girl was telling me she reminded me of my grandmother, and just telling me how much my wife meant to them. Just that one occasion, that's how my wife was. And when I went to pick up her car from Nissan, the people at Nissan said we heard about it. Said, you know what, we're gonna miss her because said she owned this place. So what do you mean? She's no say she owned this place. Say because when she pulled up, everybody said, "What can we do for you, Miss Myra?" He said, even the owner, yeah, and even he got a letter from him personally and everything. I mean, that's the kind of person she was. She just man, she's the kind of person, Quintin. If she talked to you and you told her, said, "Well, this is what I'm doing now. You're doing all this fabulous stuff now. And got all this stuff going on," and you might have said something like, "But you know, I had 2 more hours to go at this college and didn't finish." She would tell you need to go back and do that. No matter what you're doing right now, you could have been on top of the world. She would tell you you need to go back and do them 2 hours. Yeah, and she would actually work a plan for you about how it can be done. And before she leaves you, she got a plan. Everything she's now go ahead and do it like that. That was Myra. That was her. And so man, um, that's one of the reasons why I didn't think I can do this without her. Because the kind of person she was, she did the same thing for my life. In my life. She was the answer to my prayer. Believe me, brother.
Yes.
She was.
And who's that ram in the bush right now in your life?
Well, right now, nobody. The guy, well, I'll put it like this: the ram in the bush of my life right now is, my children, my grandchildren, um, and right now I have somebody of interest, but I'm not sure. Not not very serious. Just kind of trying things for the first time. I mean, it's like, I've imagined this lady practically all my life in terms of, you know, being with another woman. And so when it came, and so this dating thing is like crazy, man. I don't know how to do that, you know. And at the same time, you know, I'll put it like this. Last year, Christmas, my wife used to want the whole house decorated inside and outside. I mean, like a child coming to Santa Claus land. And I used to have to do that, and I did it. And after the tragedy, I didn't do it. I barely put up a tree. And I did that. And I did that because of my daughter and my son and his grandchildren coming. And last year, I decorated the whole house inside and outside. And I told Myra, I said, now this is going to be for you. This is the last time I'm doing this. I said, and her birthday's in December. We got married in December. Okay? I said, so this is my way of telling you bye. I said, I'm going to decorate the whole house inside and out just like you want to. This is going to be your Christmas. Christmas, I tell you bye. And so that was the beginning of me moving forward, last year. Yeah.
So if you fast forward to right now, and we've all heard the news about the memorial Is it necessary to have a memorial there at the church?
I thought about that, and I'm on the board for that memorial. Barely going to any board meetings. Few, I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, and I've told my kids, and I've told everybody, and I've told the church, Emmanuel, and the committee. I don't want to glorify them. I want God to have the glory, and the only way for us to give God the glory is to remember them in a way that would actually reflect their lives. And so that's why I go around spreading the gospel of forgiveness. That's why I initiated this One New Humanity Charleston, and that's why I do a lot of other things as a reflection of who my wife was. She don't need a stone to tell people that. Don't need a figure outside the church to tell people that. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, good Lord, Jesus died on the cross, okay, and everybody's trying to get a piece of that cross he died on. He didn't say build me a statue. He didn't leave anything except his spirit. He sent his spirit back here. And that's what I want them to do. I want them to feel her spirit. I want them to reflect on who she was and through their spirits. So the memorial don't mean nothing to me. If they don't build it, fine with me.
Reverend Anthony Thompson, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you very much, my brother Quintin. And it is an award-winning show, my brother. And you are an award-winning man, okay, to do the things you have done, to accomplish the things you have accomplished, okay? And I know the Lord's been with you all the time.
Yes.
I'm going to continue to pray the Lord continue to be with you, and you continue to be with him. Hopefully we'll see each other again when I come to that restaurant.
Oh, yeah, and I'll probably see you at the Four Corners of Law.
Oh, yeah, most definitely there, brother.
Yes, indeed.
I know. And thank you so much. It's been a blessing. It's been an honor and a privilege, my brother, to be on your show. And I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Okay? I hope to have you back.
Oh, yeah. I hope to be back.
Yes, sir.
And God bless you.
You too.
All right.